No, but
And
you
it's just,
said you said you know that there is no God. How do you know that?
oh, I know it because well as I could know anything. So I'm 99.9% sure.
But
If during this interview you provide evidence, I'll change my mind.
what is your evidence that there is no God?
Now we're into proving a negative. So it's not my burden to tell you there is no God. It's your claim. So you have to show me why I
But
should believe.
but it
And
is
you have
your
failed.
burden to prove that there is no God. You said
Why
you
is that?
know there is no God, and what is your evidence that there is no God? What's your evidence of that?
My evidence that there is no God is your complete and total lack of evidence that there is a God.
Amazing.
Yes, guys, welcome to another very interesting installment of Culture War. How you doing, guys? Once again, I want to wish every single one of you a happy 2025. Jesse's going to be taking on an atheist, a renowned atheist, a popular YouTuber. Is an atheist. Very interesting convo. It went back and forth. Very interesting, very informative, and very educative. It was a level-headed debate. I'd like you to enjoy and watch. Please, if you've not subscribed to the channel, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell to get more videos like this. So let's dive straight into this video.
I have with me in this second hour here Devin Tracy. And Devin Tracy is known on YouTube as Atheism is Unstoppable. Atheism is Unstoppable. Isn't that amazing? That is amazing. Devin, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on.
Hey, Jesse, my man. Good to be here. It's an honor. I've been watching your videos. I am a fan, and I appreciate what you do. I think you're a much-needed voice
Well,
on YouTube.
thank you, Devin. I absolutely appreciate that. So, Devin, are you an atheist?
That is fair to say. Yeah, I am an atheist.
And why?
Because I feel it's the correct stance, but it's not something I actively think about. I actually don't talk about atheism much anymore. I feel like I've gotten it off my chest, and I feel like we've made our point. You know what I'm saying? Like we've evolved a little bit.
And what's
as
the point
atheists.
that you made?
Well, originally my point was just to kind of make fun of religious people and just state for the record that I thought it was all bogus and I thought it wasn't real, which is, I feel, kind of an important distinction because
And
you
so,
guys base your life around it. So.
and so, let me go back to the. And why are you an atheist?
I'm an atheist because I don't believe in things that aren't true.
And what's not true that you don't believe in?
I love the questioning. I love it. It's all literal. What's not true is that there is no God, and you pick a story, pick any of those old fables. I mean, it's all just that. It's just make believe. And so it's time that we grow up as a species and stop living in fear and stop telling lies to ourselves. I thought you were about the truth, Jesse.
And how do you know that there is no God?
It's not about knowing. It's about how do I know that your argument that there is a God is not good? And I know that because I use reasoning and you guys don't have much evidence. So it's kind of an embarrassing assertion that you would claim that there's a invisible creature in the sky.
No, but you
just,
said you know that there is no God. How do you know that?
oh, I know it because as well as I could know anything. So I'm 99.9% sure. If during this interview you provide evidence, I'll change my mind.
What is your evidence that there is no God?
Now we're into proving a negative. So it's not my burden to tell you there is no God. It's your claim. So you have to show me why I should believe.
But it
And
is
you
your
have failed.
burden to prove that there is no God. You said
Why
you
is that?
know there is no God. And what is your evidence that there is no God? What's your evidence of that?
My evidence that there is no God is your complete and total lack of evidence that there is a God.
Amazing. And did you at one time believe that there was a God?
No, I was one of those that didn't get indoctrinated, so it was kind of an easy slide for me. It was, and I thank my parents for that. You know, a lot of people, they don't get that head start. They get told what to believe, and then they have to sort of question, wait a minute, am I just believing it because my parents told me, or is this what I actually think? So I got to avoid all that, which is nice.
So you were raised by your father and mother?
Yeah, I got a stepmother somewhere along the way there, but yeah, I had a father in my life, which is a big thing, which is something I know you talk about quite often.
Yeah. Were you raised by your father and mother?
Yeah, I was. My father was around, and he played an instrumental role in my upbringing.
Was he in the home with you?
He was most of the time, actually. Yeah, he had a
But
job that
what do you
allowed that.
mean that you had a stepmother at some point?
My actual mother died when I was 5, and so he remarried, and I got a couple stepsisters and a new mom.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. But
I'm all
so
right.
so you were not raised by your father and mother. You're raised by your father and a stepmother.
Correct.
And how did you
Yeah.
feel about your stepmother?
Oh, boy, that's a can of worms. She is very religious. So, I tried to get along well, but it was never going to be a fit made in heaven. So it was whatever. I kind of went on with my life, and I sort of had my father there, and he was the main driving force.
Right. So your mother died when
Mhm.
you were 5. You had a stepmother, and you didn't like your stepmother at all.
She wasn't the wicked witch. I mean, it's not like a Disney, stepmother, but no, it's just, she
But
wasn't family per se, so it's a tough thing. I mean, most people with step parents kind of understand what one goes through.
this is why men and women who have children should
Hmm.
not remarry. They should not get with another woman, or a woman should not get with another man while they have children, because kids do not accept step parents.
It,
They desire, they yearn their own parents, and not for their own parents, and not some step parents. It's
yeah,
very selfish when men and women do that.
well, it's not a secret. I mean, there's many books written about this. I think depending on how old you are when the new parent comes in, that changes quite a lot. For example, my sister is 5 years older than me, and like a 5, or a 10 and 11-year-old girl getting a new mom, that ain't gonna fly.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that was a tricky one.
And were you close to your father?
Oh yeah, still am. He's a great guy, a great man. He comes from a great father, and it's one of those things where you don't really realize how lucky you are until other people point it out and they say, "Damn, I wish I had a relationship like the one you have with your father." And you just get lucky or you don't.
Did you forgive him for marrying this woman?
I, I fully forgive him.
You told him
Yeah,
that?
I never had any anger towards him, none whatsoever.
Uh,
Yeah,
but
and
did
by
he
the way,
know
all.
how much you disliked your Christian stepmother?
Oh, it's on record. She was more than Christian, though. I mean, it was more into like, woo woo and New Age and Scientology and a little Christianity. I mean, it was just everything. And it didn't really bother me. I mean, I tried to move on with my own life. There's more. Life is too short to be worried about negative relationships or just things that aren't perfectly harmonious. So I was out dating girls and playing sports and, doing other stuff.
Could that explain why you rejected God? Because she was it sounded as though she was a terrible example of that.
um, no, I don't think I ever thought of a need to reject it. It was never an option. It was just, I don't know. Maybe, do you agree that it's important to believe in things that are true? Is that a principle of yours?
Well, if you really want a peaceful life, if you
Yeah.
want to be able to see and deal with life properly and overcome the issues, it's important to believe the truth, because when you believe the lie, then life becomes difficult. And because we do live by belief, we live by faith in something, we can't help it. It's best to live by what's right rather than the lie.
So are you suggesting that a belief in God is helpful in one's life and that's why we should believe it, not that it's actually true?
A belief in God is the truth, and it's the way to go.
Well, I believe that you truly believe in God, but I'm suggesting that it's kind of pointless because he's not real. But like,
And when you define evidence, when you say you need evidence, there's no evidence, right?
yeah.
Define that. What do you mean by define no evidence?
Well, I mean, we could use like a court system, like how a court would view evidence. I'm looking for anything, really, anything more than what you have, which is just stories written by people you don't even know wrote them. It's just not compelling. And the belief in God is an extraordinary claim, and there's not even a shred of evidence for it.
And so let me just ask this, and then I want to move on. I have so much I
Yeah.
want to ask you about this.
Okay. Fine.
So it sounds like your stepmother was a bad example of a person who believes in God. Do you think, has she been an example of what she preached? Has she been a living example of it? You might see this thing differently.
No, I see you're going with that angle, but there was more to my life than just my stepmother. I mean, I was raised in the 80s in LA, and there was a lot of God talk everywhere. I went to a youth group. I was in the Boy Scouts. You know, we used to have religion in the Boy Scouts. I think they're taking it out now, but back then it was there, and none of it impressed me. I got to be honest. And this was not even a hard decision. It was just a no-go from the start. So I haven't been grappling with this. I'm not rejecting God. I just don't think it's real. So I just moved on.
Well, I understand. So where do you get your values from?
Well, partly the Boy Scouts, actually. But it's my society, my parents, and
But
my intuition.
it sounds like your mother was no good. Your stepmother was no good.
No,
So
no.
if what you said about her, she had no values.
No.
So maybe that's why you're like that.
No. I do have values. She's a fine woman. It's just, our relationship was a little bit frayed. That's all. But values, there's tons of atheists that have values, and you know this. So don't try to suggest that I'm some sort of a hedonistic Satan
No.
worship.
I'm just saying it. I'm just asking, where do you get
Yeah.
your values from?
Well, I don't think I reinvented the wheel. I don't think I got them all from myself, but I am guided by my own personal intuition on what I think is right and wrong.
Amazing. I think that it's a horrible mistake to try to convince anyone or prove to anyone that there is a God. Either you believe it or you don't. And it's not up to me as an individual to prove to anyone that there is a God.
Yeah, and
Because
I'm
if
not
I
going out.
prove it to you, you only believe it because I proved it to you or said it, not because you see it for yourself. So if you don't see it for yourself, you never will have it anyway.
Yeah, you guys have that weird thing where you want people to believe without evidence.
I don't
based on
want people
faith.
to believe.
No, but faith is a huge factor in
I know, but I
Christianity.
don't want people to believe.
Okay, but I mean, God could show us evidence if he existed. That could happen, but he doesn't, because it's this purity test. And, you got to believe just blindly, and then you're going to be rewarded in heaven.
Well, in all honesty, God doesn't care if you believe or not. Who told you that?
Nobody told me that. I just okay. Well,
He
I like the fact
really
that you're.
does not care if you believe. It's up to you.
Okay.
So he's not bothered by he and his son. They wake up every morning, and they turn on the big screen TV, and
4K.
he have his son go in and make a little coffee, and they sit back and just watch human beings make a fool of themselves. But he doesn't care if you believe or not.
Okay, well, we have something in common, because it sounds like you don't want people to believe, so you're not trying to convert.
I
and I'm
want
not trying
them
to
to
convert.
believe. I want them to believe, but it's not bothering me, or I'm not trying to force them to believe. It's really up to them.
Yeah, and for me, I'm not spending my life trying to get people to be atheists. I mean, if I make a video and somebody converts, great, so be it. But most Christians don't even faze me. They don't bother me at all. I think they're wrong, but I'm more concerned about the ones that want to kill me, like some of those Muslims out there.
You say that you just said you don't want to be killed by Muslims or Muslims.
Yep.
Who kill most, Christians or Muslims?
Well, this is a baited question, because an SJW would tell you, well, it depends on what century you're talking about. But I don't care about diving into history, even though I have a degree in history from UCLA. It's obviously Muslims by a country mile. It's not even close. And they are by far and away the largest threat. And of course, it's not all of them. And I know you sell T-shirts with not all, and so do I.
Devin, when I said that I've noticed that atheism, many atheists are social justice warrior, I was referring to the radical activist atheists. They're like the radical activist homosexuals and lesbians. They're very radical. And is that because they don't believe in God?
Nah, I think it's a coincidence. You're just going to get a lot more people who don't believe in God, and then they also have other things about them,
Uh-huh.
but they're not correlated in any significant way. I mean, there's a lot of division within the atheist community. I was one of the people that started to divide them because I saw a bunch of SJWs and I called them out. And the fact that we're both atheists means nothing to me.
Amazing. And are there things that you disagree with me on?
Oh, a million things, but I agree with you on a ton of stuff too, which is also of note. I would like to commend you for your performance with Cenk Uygur, the Young Turks. I
Oh,
thought it was
yeah.
hysterical. Oh my God, it was priceless. Jesse, when he, you told him that racism doesn't exist,
Yes.
and he laughed at you and said you were crazy, and then you said, "Wait a minute, I'm telling you this as a guy who used to pick cotton on a plantation under Jim Crow." And he shut up immediately, and he treated you like you were Harriet Tubman herself. It was unbelievable.
That's funny. I've known him for a long time. Do you believe that racism exists?
I hear what you're saying with that. I believe that. Here's what I believe. I believe that there is not a commonly understood definition of racism. So I think the word has gotten completely out of control. It's been overused, exaggerated, hyped up. I believe there's a lot of racism that people will not call out, which is anti-white racism. That is everywhere. Not just in South Africa, but here in America, and you're well aware of that.
And so you believe that racism exists?
Oh yeah, in pockets, yeah, as a notion, sure, it's a useful word, but the phenomenon of everything being racist is completely just over the top. We've got to rein that in.
I have proven in my book, The Antidote, Healing America from the Poison of Hate, Blame, and Victimhood. I prove that racism does not exist. It has never existed, and that it was made up by the children of the lie in order to put fear in white people and keep blacks angry because and demoralized, because you cannot control a moral people or a moral person. You have to demoralize them in order to control them. And blacks are suffering due to the lack of family, the destruction of the family and the lack of moral character. And so this is a moral issue. It's a right and wrong issue, and it has nothing to do with being a male or a female. Do you agree with that?
I think you have a point in there. I think you're being provocative by saying racism doesn't exist. That a lot of people are going to throw up a brick wall with that.
But we need to know the truth, because if we don't speak the truth about the situation, we can never get it right. We can't correct it. And we gave black people a black president thinking that, well, I didn't think it was going to help them, but white folks thought it was going to help them realize that white people are not against them. And the blacks got worse rather than getting better. And the races are more divided under the father Messiah, Barack Obama, than any other time in history. Do you agree with that?
Well, I think we're on a historical path that doesn't have to do with sitting presidents. It's gotten worse and worse since, I go back to the LA riots. I go back to OJ. I mean, we're not over that stuff. So go back to the Watts riots. Keep going back. But the one thing I would say on race in America is that we don't have a problem with white supremacy and just racism of whites to blacks. What we have is inferiority complex from black people. And that's the real heart of the issue. We don't spend our days and nights thinking about y'all. Yeah. And trying to
I tried to tell them that.
Yeah, exactly. But here's the difference. I say it as a white man, I get called a racist. You say it as a black man, you get called a variety of other different names.
Uncle Tom, the N-word. I've noticed that the white, straight, conservative, Christian man of power, and white people overall, especially white men, are the most hated creatures on this side of heaven. Why is that?
I would say envy. I've got to say people are just bitter. They're just hating. Yeah. I mean, what else could it possibly be?
Why don't white people stand up, though? Why do they go along with this rather than speaking up?
Well, I think there's a few reasons for that. The social cost, the cost benefit. I mean, why would they do this? First of all, their wives probably aren't on board with this, and happy wife, happy life. Second of all, their money is at stake.
There's not one man with a happy wife and a happy life. That doesn't go together.
Are you divorced, Jesse?
No, okay. I'm not. I have one more question for you.
Yeah.
Are atheists logical people?
I mean, on that issue, I would say they are. It's no guarantee they're going to be logical in any other aspect of their life. It's not like they're superior human beings just, because they're an atheist. But yeah, in general, you could say they're logical.
I often wonder, why do they support homosexuality? I've noticed that most, and I won't say all, not all, but most atheists support homosexuality. Do you support that?
Well, I'm not sure how to support it. It sounds a little bit gay to support homosexuality, but yeah, I support the fact that there are gays and like they have every
do
right
you
to
think
be gay.
that that's normal?
Not statistically, no.
So you personally know that it's not normal?
It's not normal for me. I know it's normal for them.
But is it normal to be, in your personal opinion, is it normal to be a lesbian or a homosexual?
No, it is statistically abnormal, I would say, but it is biologically predictable. It doesn't just happen with humans. There are gay frogs, aren't there?
Let me ask this, is it logical to be a homosexual?
Logic and sexuality have nothing to do with each other, but it's not logical if your goal is to reproduce. You could say that.
Amazing.
Jesse, before I go, let me just tell you something.
Yes.
You say there's not as many great black men as there used to be?
Not at all.
Well,
They're girly men. They think
Okay.
like their mothers.
Okay, well, Jesse, I'm looking at one right now. I think you're a great man.
Well,
and I
thank
want
you.
to say you say a lot of things are amazing, but let me tell you something. Your dedication to the truth, to bettering people's lives, to uniting the races, and to creating engaging content, that's amazing.
I appreciate that, Devin. I'm going to have you back. I truly enjoyed talking to you.
You as well, my man.
All right.
Talk
God
later.
bless you, man. Thank you.